Hey everyone. Okay, so welcome to a non-traditional tutorial. I'm going to start by saying we are in Waffle's tool. It does not allow me to bring this stuff into Horizon. It's an external helper for making educational content. So anywho, that's where we're just going to start. So the first thing we need to do is name our script. Wait, what are we doing? We are building a light switch. Okay. So I basically wanted to start by teaching you guys two things. Number one, how to build a light switch, and number two, what we did in Murder Manor to make the really cool light switch that you use in the basement. Now, do note that right now in Horizon, light switches are broken, or excuse me, dynamic lights are broken in that when the world starts, if you're there when it starts, the dynamic lights will work. But if you come into the world late, they are frozen at whatever state they were. And I guess I can say that we wrote Murder Manor, not in Codeblocks, in TypeScript. So if it does work for you, please, please, please let me know, because that would be a huge help to get the bug fixed. So if it works in Codeblocks but not TypeScript, anywho, that's all I'm going to do for the preface here. And but yeah, I wanted to show you how we would do it in Codeblocks because it's not that hard. So we're going to build a light switch. We're going to start by creating some variables, and we really need to think first and foremost, where does this script run? And this switch is going to run on a trigger. We're going to build a really basic, put your hand in the trigger to turn the light switch off and on. And this trigger needs to know about quite a few different things. The first thing it needs to know about is the light itself. So we'll say light, L-I-G-H-T. We also want to know about a sound effect. So we're going to go create a sound effect. So for like the click sound effect, this might be, maybe we'll call it click sound effect. And then we'll click create. And the last thing we need to know is a Boolean variable, which is telling us if it is on. So we say is on, click create. Okay, this script is relatively simple. I do think we should, yeah, we can do this. Okay, so what we're going to do is start by thinking about the trigger. We're running on a trigger that detects players entering it. So we say when trigger is entered by player, and then when the trigger is entered by a player, we want to first start by going up to values saying set is on to be not is on. We call this flipping a Boolean. So under operators, we have the not operator. And then if you thumbstick to the right, you can duplicate. And so we say set is on to not is on, which is going to set it to be either true or false. So if it starts true, not true is false. So it sets it to false. And if it's false, it sets it to true. This flips the bool back and forth every time the trigger is entered. The problem, you can enter the trigger multiple times. And if you don't care about players flipping the lights off and on, go ahead and leave this, but I'm going to make it so that you can't do this but every 5 seconds. So there's an option under actions called set trigger detection, which we are going to set trigger detection of self, which should already be in there, to a Boolean, which should also already be in there, of false. We're then going to create an event called re-enable, and yep, that's good. So when re-enable is received, we're going to set self-detection to true. And then to cause this to happen with a 5-second delay, we say send event with delay to self. And there will already be numbers in here, just for reference. You just have to edit them. And then we'll say with 5-second delay, and the event is called re-enable. Now, it is good scripting practice to create variables whenever you use a number. These are called magic numbers. We don't want to use magic numbers. So we're going to say re-enable delay. So now we've got this labeled. And the other thing that this does is it makes our script more readable. And when TypeScript comes out, I cannot tell you how important readability is. It is so, so important. So stay tuned. I cannot wait to make tutorials on TypeScript and tell you more about how we made Murder Manor. But for now, we say send re-enable to self after re-enable delay. And then when re-enable is received, we set self-detection back to true. So every 5 seconds, you can flip the light switch back on and off. Now note in Murder Manor, we used 15-second delay so that people wouldn't just stand there all day hitting the lights every 5 seconds. So you might consider doing a 15-second delay, but I think 5 is pretty good for a regular light switch. So we set self-detection to false, we send re-enable, we set is on to not is on, and now how do we use this is on? It's actually really, really simple. So we go into the Actions tab, and there are some light options, which are right here. Set light enabled. Drag this down, go into your variables tab, grab the light gizmo, and we say set light to be the Boolean is on. And this is going to flip it off and on. And that is the first bit. The last bit here is just to go in and then play sound. You just go ahead and say play sound on the click sound effect. And we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 8 lines of code, depending on how you count. Pretty solid light switch, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and screenshot this. Let's see, can I do that while I'm recording? Command Shift, yeah, I can. Capture selected portion of screenshot and capture. Sweet. Okay, so I've saved that. Then the next thing we want to do is talk about how we actually did it in Murder Manor. So this is just your classic lights switch. You're going to put this on a trigger. You're going to put the trigger over the switch in the room that you want to do. You put a dynamic light in that room, and you reference a click sound, and you reference, in fact, you could use the same click sound for all your sound effects by doing move to, and you could say move click sound effect to the position of, you'd say position of self, so the position of the trigger, and that would then allow you to use the same sound effect for everything. And I'd highly recommend doing this on world start. So you create a vector, which is a position called origin position, or you could even call it my position. And then you would say when world is started, set origin position or my position, move that up, and set my position to this position of self, and then use my position where we were using position of self. And now we don't call position of self all the time. This makes our script run more efficiently. And so now you take this script, duplicate it into every single room, and your sound effect's going to get teleported around, so you only need one sound effect. And there you go. I mean, it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. Okay, what else can you do with this? We want to talk about how we did, sorry, we want to, not what else we want to do this. How did we make it in Murder Manor? It was slightly different. So there is a cool feature where I can say new script. I don't know if this is new or what, but I love that this exists. So we're going to call this the light data. And light data is going to be storing all of our information that we need. And so we're going to go create an object list called lights. The reason we did this in Murder Manor is so that we could have more than just one light. And so we would then receive an event called register light. Click create. And when event was received with an object parameter, which we'll label light, we would then add that light to the list. So we'd say dun, dun, dun. Add to list. There it is. Add the light to the lights list. There we go. Now we do need to get this light from our light gizmo, so we're going to create another script, and this is called light gizmo. Might be a way to name it. And then the light gizmo says when world is started, we need to send an event to the light data. We're going to actually call this the manager. And I literally cannot wait to make tutorials on TypeScript for you guys because there's so much I want to share with you. So we're going to send light data, which is called register light, to the light data file, which we are actually going to rename in here as light manager. Let me rename that. Object light manager. And we're going to send register light to the light manager with the parameters self, so that way we can receive that on our light data script. So you get a light gizmo on world start, it sends itself to the light data file, and now we're going to actually call this light manager for the purpose of this. Now our light manager is going to run on the trigger because in Murder Manor, and we're just doing this as a trigger example, but in Murder Manor it is a grab object, which is a little different. It's pretty similar. And I think trigger is just easier to write and read and all that. So what we're saying here is the light manager trigger is going to have a bunch of lights on it. It also needs to know about some of the same things we had before. And so we had, let's say, the click sound effect, click sound effects, press create. And I think that was more or less it. We do need the Boolean is on to know what state it's in. And then any other values we can store in here too. And so we need to know when the trigger is entered. So similar to before, we'll grab when trigger is entered by player, and we are going to set the is on Boolean to not is on. And there we go. And then we can use that. So we have our set light enabled to is on. But now we have to do this for every light in the list. So that's the next thing we're going to show you. So before we get to that, let's play the sound effect right here. We'll drag play sound in. And then the last thing we need to do is disable this so that you can only do it every so often. So we'll say when event re-enable is received. We'll go in here and grab the set trigger detection of self to Boolean true for the re-enable, and then false above, duplicate, and there we go, false. And then we need to send that re-enable to self. So send event with delay, re-enable to self, and then we're gonna see our number re-enable delay. And so for Murder Manor, since that's the script we're trying to emulate here, it was 15 seconds. And then we'll duplicate that into here, or drag that into here rather. Now that's going to re-enable it. Is on is getting flipped. Now we just need to go through every single light. And so the idea is that when you have a dynamic light, one light shouldn't be enough. More on that in a second. So we needed a list of lights so that way we could adjust all the lights in the manor at the same time. And so what we needed to do was while loop through all of these lights. Now we're going to create an iterator number called I and create that. We're going to set I right before the while loop to 0. And this is going to allow us to loop through the entire list of lights. So we set I to 0. And then what we say is while I is less than the length of the list. And so we'll go and grab length of list in our B slot, and the list is the list of lights. And then we say while I is less than the length of lights. And then in this while loop, we're going to do the setting of the light at index 0. To get index 0, we scroll down here to our list. We can say get item from list, put that in there. And then list item at index 0 is I, right? So I is 0 at first. And then we get that from the list of lights. We set the property to be is on. And now to loop through the rest of these, we need to set I to be +1. So we go into the top of our operators where we have the plus symbol, replace the 0, and say I equals I plus 1. And a little bit of my TypeScript there bleeding in, guys. But actually, there's a really cool feature in TypeScript, which I can't wait, like I said, I can't wait for you guys to get to see this stuff. You can do plus equals, and I can talk about that because it's a feature of TypeScript, not a feature of Horizon. But anyway, it's so cool because you don't have to say I plus anymore. You just say I plus. In fact, you can actually do I plus plus. So many cool tricks, but it is a steep learning curve. It did take me a solid 2 months to really get a full grasp of it. But I feel really, really well grounded there, and am only just now starting to make tutorials behind the scenes and just kind of getting some practice in before I can do it publicly. And I have no idea when they're going to announce it publicly. I genuinely am telling people that are close to me that I think it's going to be at least a year because I don't know how they could release it now. But I'm also personally hoping it comes out like next month. So I genuinely believe it's going to be a year out, but I'm like, I wish it would come out next month. So we'll see. Somewhere hopefully in that range would be nice, but that's just my personal opinion. There's no secrets I know because I really don't. Okay, we are done, guys. This is it. This is the script that we're basically using in Murder Manor to switch the lights in the basement. It says, when register light is received with light, add light to lights. When triggers entered, set self to false, re-enable self after re-enable delay, and then set is on to not is on, play sound on click sound effect, set I to 0, while I is less than length of lights, set light I from lights to be is on, set I to I plus 1. When re-enable is received, set self detection to true. Okie doke. If you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments. I'd actually prefer you join our Discord. There's a link in the description. I check Discord every day, whereas the comments, they don't even get sent to my email sometimes. YouTube just kind of filters that stuff out. So really encourage you to tag me at Lakes05 on Discord for more information. I'm going to go ahead and screenshot this as well and drop these into our Discord channel with a link to this tutorial. and I got to get running to my next meeting. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to do that. I also have a way for you to book me. It's $100 for an hour one-on-one session, but I would absolutely love to work with you guys if you have any questions, or you want to get some like support on something you're currently working on, or if you're trying to do this tutorial and you're getting stuck. Happy to help. I will say that many people suggest putting the video in half speed. If that's you, feel free to do it. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and wrap here, guys, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Till next time, bye!